21 behavioral statements at MCC level across the same 6 competencies you already mapped at ACC and PCC. The statements will sound familiar. The verbs and structures echo what you know. The challenge is not memorizing new content. It is recalibrating your ear for what mastery sounds like in a real session, where the same behaviors that earned PCC at proficiency now have to land at exemplary. The slides show the literal MCC BARS wording from the ICF source. The narration unpacks what those words ask of the coach and what you are listening for as a mentor coach preparing a candidate. 3 reference points to keep in your head. MCC consolidates. C3, C4, and C5 keep 4 statements each. C6, C7, and C8 collapse to 3 each. The 11 coaching mindset proxy markers from PCC continue at MCC. The 5-point scale puts meets at 3 and exceeds at 4, and the move from meets to exceeds is where artistry lives. That is the move you are training your ear to hear. Competency 3 establishes and maintains agreements. 4 statements. M3.1. The coach partners with the client to identify the focus. The verb partners is doing the work. At ACC, the coach asks for a topic. At PCC, the coach co-creates around the topic. At MCC, the partnership is so light that the client effectively chooses, and the coach's contribution is invisible scaffolding. The coach's voice is in the room without being on the page. M3.2. The coach explores and clarifies several aspects of the topic. Note the phrase several aspects. A coach who lands on one frame and stays there fails M3.2, even if the frame is good. You are listening for the coach surfacing 2 or 3 angles before the focus narrows. M3.3, the coach confirms the mutual understanding of the client's desired session outcome. The word mutual is the test. Not a coach summary, a confirmed shared understanding. The client says back what they heard in their own words. M3.4 is where MCC adds something distinctive. The coach notices possible shifts emerging in the conversation and clarifies the desired direction with the client. Real-time renegotiation. The coach surfaces shifts before they become invisible. At PCC, agreement renewal is reactive. At MCC, it is anticipatory. What you are listening for. Does the coach catch the shift before the client names it? Competency 4 cultivates trust and safety. 4 statements. The MCC vocabulary in C4 introduces something not explicit at lower levels. M4.1, the coach acknowledges the client's learning or growth at any moment in the session. The phrase any moment is the test. Acknowledgement lives throughout, not in a designated celebration phase. A coach who acknowledges only at the end has missed the marker's reach. Listen for acknowledgement in minute 3, minute 15, minute 30, distributed across the arc. M4.2. The coach recognizes the client's emotions, strengths, or other unique characteristics. 3 categories named explicitly. Generic acknowledgement fails, M4.2. The recognition has to be about something specific to this client in this conversation. M4.3. The coach seeks to understand the client by inviting them to share more about themselves, their perspectives, or their identity. Identity is named explicitly here for the first time. That word matters. Culture, role, history, ways of being are all in play. M4.4, the coach demonstrates empathy for what the client has expressed. The new word at MCC, ACC had support. PCC had partnership. MCC has empathy, felt resonance, not analysis. What you are listening for is the empathy felt or performed. Competency 5 maintains presence. 4 statements. M5.1. The coach responds holistically in a manner that keeps the conversation flowing. The word holistically is doing the work. Person, situation, identity, energy, all integrated in the coach's response. A coach who responds only to content fails M5.1. The response must show that more than the words registered. M5.2. The coach partners with the client in ways that support the client's needs. The phrase the client's needs, not the coach's plan, not the agreed agenda. The coach reads what the client needs in this moment, even when it diverges from the original arc. M5.3. The coach consistently demonstrates curiosity. The word consistently is the threshold. At PCC, demonstrating curiosity is one marker among 5. At MCC, consistency across the entire session is the test. Episodic curiosity fails M5.3. M5.4. The coach creates space for silence, pause, or reflection. The verb creates space, not just allows. The coach actively makes room through pacing, through inviting the client to sit with something, through choosing not to fill. What you are listening for is presence integrated across all 4 channels, or is the coach strong on some and thin on others? At MCC, all 4 must run as a pattern. Competency 6, listens actively, 3 statements, down from PCC's 7. M6.1, the coach recognizes the nuances of language, emotions, energy, or behaviors in relation to the client and the client's agenda. Note the phrase in relation to. Listening at MCC is contextual, not just registering what the client says, tracking it against the client's agenda. The coach hears the word that does not fit the stated goal, and the listening makes that visible. M6.2, the coach's response demonstrates understanding of the client's thinking, feeling, or insight in the moment. The proof of listening is in the response, not in nods or paraphrases. The next thing the coach says must show what they heard registered. If the coach's next move could have followed any client utterance, M6.2 is not met. M6.3. The coach explores what the client communicates in relation to multiple dimensions of the client. The phrase multiple dimensions is the test. Identity, situation, history, beliefs, culture, all in play. The coach links what is said to who the client is, not just to the issue on the table. What you are listening for. Does the coach's response carry the residue of what the client just communicated? When the client uses a specific word, does that word reappear in the coach's next contribution? Competency 7 evokes awareness. 3 statements, down from PCC's 8. M7.1, the coach partners with the client to explore and expand the client's perspective. Partners, not asks. Explore and expand together. New perspective emerges from the collaboration, not from the coach's clever question. M7.2, the coach shares insights, sensations, or observations that support the client in creating new or expanded awareness. Note the 3 categories. Sensations is new at MCC. The coach is permitted to share what they sense in their body or in the room. The phrase support the client in creating is the test. The offering must be in service of the client's awareness, not the coach's. The coach does not stay attached to the offering. M7.3. The coach stimulates new client insights with succinct, open-ended questions, one at a time. 3 constraints stacked. Long questions, closed questions, or compound questions all fail M7.3. The discipline is restraint. 1 question, then space. What you are listening for. Do the coach's contributions create new awareness in the client, or do they restate awareness the client already had? Restating is M6. Creating new is M7. Competency 8 facilitates client growth. 3 statements, down from PCC's 9, the largest compression in the framework. M8.1, the coach invites the client to reflect on what they have learned about themselves from the coaching conversation. The phrase about themselves is the test. Learning about the situation is not enough. The reflection must surface self-knowledge, how the client sees themselves, how they relate, what they are capable of. M8.2, the coach partners with the client to translate insights or learning into actions. The verb translate is partnership work. The coach does not prescribe action. The coach helps the client convert learning into chosen action. Resources, support, accountability, all co-designed. M8.3, the coach partners with the client to complete the session. Not closes, not wraps, partners to complete. The client confirms the session has met their measure of success and that they leave with a foundation for forward movement. What you are listening for. At MCC, growth facilitation is woven throughout, not concentrated at the end. M8.1 and M8.2 can show up at minute 15. M8.3 lives in the closing. 21 statements across 6 competencies, 4 for C3, 4 for C4, 4 for C5, 3 each for C6, C7, and C8. The compression in C6 through C8 is intentional. PCC traced the shape of competent depth with 24 markers there. MCC consolidates them into 9, because at mastery level, the granular distinctions collapse into integrated practice. Practical implication for your evaluation. A coach can hit all 3 MCC C6 statements while showing only a fraction of what PCC's 7 markers tested. Mastery does not mean executing more behaviors. It means executing fewer, more integrated, more skillful behaviors. The fewer but integrated pattern is the framework's signal that you have crossed from proficiency to mastery. Coaching mindset, competency 2, remains inferred at MCC just as it is at PCC, not directly observed in a single session. The 11 PCC proxy markers continue at MCC. 4.1, 4.3, and 4.4 in cultivates trust and safety, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 5 and 4 in maintains presence, 6.1 and 6.5 in listens actively, 7.1 and 7.5 in evokes awareness. The coaching mindset is read through those 11 proxies, not from a separate set of behaviors. What changes at MCC is the depth required. At PCC, demonstrating the proxies consistently is the threshold. At MCC, the proxies must be lived. The partnership and presence behaviors are not enacted. They are who the coach is. The mindset is no longer a behavior the coach demonstrates. It is the operating ground from which the behaviors emerge. The next video walks the MCC 5-point scale and the artistry threshold, the move from meets to exceeds. That move is where MCC evaluation becomes a judgment call rather than a checklist.